Welcome to Brookfield Perspectives, a podcast that explores the Brookfield ecosystem's role in creating sustainable wealth on a global scale. Today, we're exploring the evolution of payments and financial infrastructure, an ecosystem that powers billions of transactions every day. Network International, one of the leading payments providers across the Middle East and Africa, is helping enable the next generation of financial technology. Joining us are Anuj Ranjan, CEO of Brookfield's private equity business, and Murat Cagri Suzer, CEO of Network International, for a conversation about innovation, digitalization, and what it will take to keep up with the technological needs of the global consumer economy. This is the first episode of Partnership Perspectives, where leaders from the companies we work alongside join the conversation to explore the most significant themes and lessons that are driving our businesses forward.
So welcome to Brookfield Perspectives. My name is Anuj Ranjan. I am the CEO of Brookfield's private equity group, and I've been with Brookfield for over 20 years. Murat, thank you for joining us to talk about all things payments and financial infrastructure. And I'm really excited to hear about all the changes we're seeing in that landscape. Maybe I'll start by asking you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, first of all, Anuj, thank you for having me. This is Murat, and I'm the Group CEO of Network International. My background is banking and fintech, financial technologies. Before joining Network International, I was working for the BBVA Group. For the ones who don't know BBVA, it's $120 billion market cap bank based in Madrid, Spain. From 2017 to 2020, I was running consumer and retail banking for BBVA in United States. And then 2020 onwards, I run their payments business as CEO of their payments business. I founded the crypto business of BBVA, and then I run in Turkey their corporate and investment banking division as well. So my background is a mix in terms of banking technologies and financial technologies. Before that, I worked for McKinsey. And then before that, I started my career at Danone, the yogurt producer. When I joined Network, it was December 2024. I came as a UAE for the first time. Mid-February, I joined Network International.
Yeah, and look, we're thrilled and really, really happy that you joined Network. I remember very clearly that process. We were looking for somebody at the time that would take this company into the future. We have been investing in the Middle East for a long time. But we had not invested in financial infrastructure until we created what is today the network platform through the combination of Magnati and Network International.
Network International is in 56 countries. It's mainly a payments platform that processed more than $400 billion of volume last year, 2025. Within the 56 countries, we are licensed by more than 15 central banks in different countries, which gives us the ability to serve all of Middle East and Africa at once, which means that a merchant or a business that functions in UAE, who also have stores in other countries, can, through one API, start accepting payments in multiple countries at once and can decide on which currency they would like to settle in which country. So that's the main element or the main power that Network International brings to the region as the biggest payments platform and also the biggest financial technology company as well.
I want to start with our own history a little bit. I remember when we first started to evaluate this sector, this ecosystem of payments. I remember that word payments. I didn't really understand what it meant at the time. Over time, I think we got to understand that it's really financial infrastructure, it's technology, it's data, it's much more. But payments, to be honest, sounds a bit boring. Would you help demystify what payments really means?
Sure. Well, I might be biased. To me, it's a very, very exciting business. For a consumer or a shopper, they would like to buy something or they would like to send money to somewhere. Versus a business or a merchant, they would like to get paid. And everything in between has to be handled by multiple players. And it has to happen in milliseconds. And that is the infrastructure piece of payments in general. So when I tap my card onto your POS device, or when I shop online, the first thing that needs to happen is a payments provider first authenticates if the business is real, if the card is real, then we route the transaction to the right place. And then we do all the fraud checks and the security checks at the back end. And then we come back to the merchant and then we approve that transaction. And then we settle to that merchant's account in multiple countries in different currencies. And all of that has to happen in a second. That's the beauty of a payment infrastructure business, that has to be fully digital. It has to be up all the time. It has to be secure all the time as well, which requires significant investment and expertise. And the amount of things that you can build on top of that business now, because we see the transaction from the beginning to the end of the transaction is a lot. We can start building on top of payments to build other fintech solutions, both for consumers and businesses.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. I remember when we made our first investment in Magnati that eventually led to Network and led to the combination of the two. So we had to explain it to our board, to our investment committee. Brookfield's the largest infrastructure owner in the world. So I still remember that slide. We drew a pipeline and we showed all the different components of the payments ecosystem on a pipeline and said it's like a pipe that moves any commodity, except what it's moving is money. It's moving money in the digital pipeline. But the big benefit of it, and the thing we were most excited about, is unlike a physical pipeline, which has a fixed capacity, here the capacity was unlimited, was infinite. You could move as much money as possible through these pipelines. Now, since investing in the business, I've learned the actual term is Rails. So that was the thing we were most excited about. Another infrastructure asset, Rails, of course. But what's been most shocking to me as an observer is that first thesis of an infinite pipeline to move money around the world was just one part. What you were just talking to, other services, other things that you could provide, that data and what you collect, that's been the most amazing learning for us is just how much more this business does than just moving money. It'd be great to get a little bit of your thoughts on just how that whole ecosystem is evolving. How is it changing from what it traditionally was to what the potential it has to be in the future?
Well, we can divide it into two pieces. The first is how payments is evolving. And second is what payment companies are building on top of their payment infrastructures to serve the wider economy better. The payments is evolving in a way that it becomes more and more convenient, borderless, secure, and real-time. In the past, we were using the card plastic most of the time. Now we realize that the card plastic is done in half of our transactions because we are doing online shopping, and in online shopping, the card is stored in somewhere. And the card is stored in just many places. So we just push the button to buy and then the rest happens immediately. So that is the convenience piece. That's the speed piece. That's the digital piece of payments that's coming together. But in the meantime, it becomes more and more borderless. Sending money from one country to another one in the past was taking a lot of days. Versus today, there are multiple options in terms of sending money out between countries. There are still some hurdles that we need to take care of, but it takes 2 to 5 seconds. We can use crypto infrastructure. We can use the infrastructure of certain countries because they have alignments with each other so that the money moves pretty fast. Or one company can go and then have deals with multiple different companies so that within themselves they can form a closed loop to send money abroad, and the other way around as well. There are now multiple ways that the payment companies are building so that it becomes much faster, much secure, and much convenient. Apart from payments, the other piece that's very, very exciting to me is what can be done with the payments data, how we can serve it for the better use of the businesses and the consumers. I was talking to a taxi company CEO where they are trying to optimize where to send the taxis within the city. As a payments company, we see where the transactions are happening. We know the location of the transactions. We don't need to know the customer itself, but we can just feed that information through an API to the taxi company so that they can just route their taxis before the demand is there. It saves a lot in terms of costs. It improves the customer experience significantly. Or assume that you are in a business where competition is coming in and you would like to build a loyalty platform. You know your customers and then you know how much they spend in your platform, but you don't know if they're actually spending it anywhere else, where exactly they're spending. So payment companies, and I especially, we have the information around if that card is spending in this location or that location. What nationality is this? Is this card traveling across the world a lot, or is it mainly staying in one country? And you even know what kind of food the consumer is having without actually knowing the consumer behind the card, right? So now the next time that the card taps into somewhere, then that business can use all that information to come up with a loyalty offer for that specific customer. Or you're a gas station, you're opening a shop in a specific location, you can just design your whole store based on the payment information of what's happening around that store, so that you would prioritize some products over the others. So that is the strength of the payments data.
But it's amazing. I was thinking about this the other day, about how is Google a search company, or is the technology company with a massive data moat? And if you think about it, search is a tool by which they've used to build and collect an enormous amount of data that they now are building all kinds of solutions on top of. In many ways, what network does, what you do, or what the payments ecosystem is doing, is transforming from providing payments as a process or as a service to collecting all that data and monetizing all that data in ways that probably were previously unimaginable. At Brookfield, we talk about digitalization, which is a trend that is very much supported by what's going on in payments. But we also talk about deglobalization. Critical infrastructure around the world is much more important to countries and their sovereignty than it was in the past. How is the payment ecosystem adapting or changing or evolving as part of that?
What we see in the region is more and more there is effort from governments, very thoughtful efforts from governments on digitizing the economy. And payments is a key pillar of it. So as payment companies, we are part of that initiative. We are working very actively with governments in terms of how to digitize the economies. And it has very beneficial impacts to businesses and consumers as well. If you think about Africa, for example, in the past, given the low penetration of banking population, it was very hard to do payments. And now in the past few years, through the mobile wallets, anyone can do payments at anywhere, anytime in most of Africa, without the need to hold a plastic, to hold a credit card in their pockets. That's being enabled by the payment infrastructure companies. We cover 49 countries in Africa. We accept payments. And apart from working with businesses and consumers, we also work with financial institutions. So we serve to 260 financial institutions so that across Middle East and Africa, so that they can offer payment infrastructure, our payment infrastructure, to their customers in a turnkey manner. And that is significant saving, and that's significant improvement in terms of speed of execution as well. The main reason behind that is any innovation that comes into payments, given our scale, we are typically the first one implementing it in this region. So now, the moment that the financial institutions are directly working with us, any innovation that we are bringing in, it becomes a turnkey solution for them that they can execute, they can implement for their customers, and they can serve directly.
It's really a partnership approach with these countries. As you said, it's critical infrastructure of the country. Imagine a country did not have its payments ecosystem for a week. It would kill the economy. We're partnering with these countries to enable the use of digital currencies, to enable the use of transactions, to enable commerce, which is pretty incredible. You talk about innovation, how our scale allows us to do things probably faster, better, and bigger than any one of these 56 countries we operate in would do independently. One of the biggest trends we've seen in the world today is AI. AI is both, of course, an opportunity. It's an opportunity from a productivity perspective, possibly, and please tell us more about an opportunity from what we can provide to our customers. How do you think about AI and the changes it's bringing to the overall payments landscape?
So AI is in our lives for many years now. And then the latest version of AI has been mostly being talked around for the past couple of years. But before that, we had machine learning. We had big data models. That's payments is a lot of data. We handle billions of transactions every year. With all those transactions, we needed to use all of those machine learning information, AI, for past 10, 15 years already to ensure that the transactions are secure. Because with the human eye, it's impossible to just process that many transactions that's happening per second.
Yeah, how many transactions per second you process?
We do 5 billion transactions a year.
Wow.
And we do around 10 to 20 billion transactions but every day. And we do more than 1,000 transactions every second.
So that's incredible. Yeah, there's no way for a human to check 1,000 transactions a second.
Exactly. So AI is at the heart of payments for many years now. What's happening is with the generative AI, there are two things that are significantly improving. Now with generative AI, it can generate its own data. So even with small amount of data, we can generate very strong models, which means we can segment more and we can serve better. Now there is the other piece of AI where it increases the productivity significantly. We see the impact of it on our developers, testers first. So we have started testing it some time ago, and then immediately after 1 month only. And the reason why I'm talking about that 1 month is that prompt engineering, it's an experience as well. So in 1 month, we doubled the productivity, just 1 month on our developers. So now the amount of products that we can put into the market, speed and convenience of them increase significant. Fraud and security is definitely another area. We serve the customers through the call center because now they're talking to our IBR, which is an AI agent. So we serve only 35% of all of their needs through an AI-led IBR agent as well.
It's incredible. So it's not just a partnership with governments, banks. It's a partnership with merchants, small businesses, coffee shops, florists, restaurants, barbershops, servicing them, and ultimately us individuals who are going and paying in a way that's a lot more convenient. Another innovation, another shift we've seen broader in the world, and you know a lot about this space, so I'd love to take the opportunity to ask you about it, is crypto. To a lot of people, myself included earlier, crypto just meant Bitcoin, and it meant something speculative. But the technology underpinning all of this, the blockchain, DLT, is really enabling things, whether it's the stablecoin universe or other central bank digital currencies or other aspects of the broader crypto universe altogether. Much has been talked about the power of this technology as it relates to payments. How are we a network addressing this space? And what are some of your thoughts on the broader crypto landscapes and how it will affect and change things in payments in the future?
I think it's a beautiful technology, first of all. Let's separate it into, again, two. One is the businesses, and then the other one is the financial institutions. For financial institutions, they would like to offer crypto services to their customers. And for those financial institutions, we are already integrated to their core platform as a payments company, as a payments infrastructure provider, which means we are already doing millions of transactions per day for a bank. And we have the card control so that the customer can turn on the card, turn off the card, and etc. Now, what's coming up with crypto is that some of those customers, they would like to do custody of that crypto in their main financial institution. They would like to do the exchange in that financial institution as well, instead of going to other crypto platforms and then doing the KYC again, introducing themselves again. In some cases, they are looking for some human touch as well, which is sometimes hard to find in crypto and market. So for those in financial institutions, we are providing crypto as a service. It's a turnkey solution. If a bank approaches us and says, I would like to offer crypto to my customers, we have our own ecosystem of partners that we have integrated already. And it became our core infrastructure. We can turn it on and we can start settling, similar to payment setup. So that's the beauty of crypto as an addition on the existing payment rails, as a different payment methodology. At the end of the day, right? So we pay with cash, we pay with cards, we pay online, we pay digital, we pay through tokens, we pay through wallets, and now we pay through crypto as well. That's one element. Then when we move to the merchants, the main thing about merchants is they would like the payments infrastructure to be up 100% of the time, which is our uptime for the past 5 years fully. And then the second thing is they would like to accept any type of payment. So yeah, they don't miss the settings. Crypto is being used now by customers. They would like to spend their crypto, especially stable coins that they have. So now our work and our job is to make sure that we enable the acceptance of crypto on the environments that we have. It could be a POS transaction, it could be an online transaction, it could be a pay-by-lead transaction, as long as we enable different crypto coins so that it's accepted on that specific merchant. For that to happen, there are regulations. UAE is leading the region in terms of those regulations, and it's leading it in a very thoughtful manner, utilizing the global benchmarks and just switching them into the realities of the region. And we are working very closely with the regulators on this front to enable crypto acceptance on our terms.
It's amazing. I'm thinking of there will be a time, and already is, maybe it's already today, where I could go and buy a coffee, either pay with my Apple Wallet, Apple Pay, or settle in USDT, or possibly settle in another cryptocurrency. And we're able to allow, we're able to allow the merchant to accept any type of payment, but also in a way, with the leading market share we have in these countries, we're sort of also able to enable certain, cryptocurrencies, certain stable coins to be leaders in their own right in a market, because some people can spend with a currency. That currency is not really that valuable.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think there are just too many options. For one or two of those options to be more relevant for me as a consumer, there has to be some benefits attached to it. We all use credit cards, and then we have the benefits on those credit cards, right? Even on debit cards from tax time. So when the crypto environment gets more mature on a payment transaction, I think you will see that the loyalty is going to be an inherent part of it. And this is very coming to play as, for example, in UAE, with the market share that we had in Jordan, in South Africa, in Kenya, and different countries, we could be the main partner or the stablecoin providers, the central bank digital currencies, in terms of increasing the usage on the point of sale.
So, Rob, we talked a lot about innovation, all the changes happening in the landscape. For network to really benefit from this, you need to have a talented team of people that are able to go and grab these opportunities and really take your business into the future. How do you build that culture of innovation? How have you built it so far here in this market in Dubai?
What I've learned in my past is basically three things are driving innovation. So the first thing is the clarity of the leadership on the vision, on what needs to happen, and a lot of communication around it, so that there's an understanding across the organizations, especially the organizations are big organizations, on what we are trying to achieve. The second thing is, in terms of decision making, I find it very helpful and useful if the decision making is happening on the smaller teams level and the ownership is happening there as well. And I see the role of the rest of the organization is to create the empowerment to those smaller teams so that each one becomes an independent creator of innovation. And the final one is making sure that the customer is in the room. Because sometimes it's easy to just focus on the product itself, just deliver the product, work with IT, technology, and the product will be there. But even if it's missing 20%, what it should have, that for the customer, they would not use it, they wouldn't find it useful. So having the customer in the room, creating a culture around making sure that we start with the customer, understand the pain, understand the main point, and then solve for it specifically, and we go from there. I find it very, very useful. So that's what we are trying to do at Network in terms of instilling innovation culture.
Now, look, I've had a pleasure spending time with you and your team, and I must say they're very forward-thinking. And the vision that you all collectively have is, I think, beyond where anyone saw this ecosystem going even a couple of years ago when we made our first investment. I'd like to talk a little bit about your own personal background. You talk about fostering this culture of innovation and what you've learned from your past experiences. What are some lessons you've observed through your journey that stands for great leadership or makes a great leader?
My first job was at Dano, the yogurt company. Of course, I was in sales and trade marketing. I think what I've learned over there was that the product is just not a function of it's also an emotional. I was selling yogurts. There were tons of different yogurts. And also a yogurt is something that you can do by yourself at home as well. However, still, as consumers, we choose products like toothpaste, detergent, our credit card, or a yogurt based on some emotions. So that was one learning, that the product is just not a product itself, but it comes with an attachment to an emotion, such as our card limits. If it's declined, when we are having lunch or dinner with friends, we don't feel very good about it, right? So that's one thing that we need to make sure that it's 100% up there, because it's an emotion rather than a functional need. Then I moved to McKinsey & Company, consultancy, where 80% of my time was on financial institutions, transformation, digitization, growth initiatives mainly. Over there, I think what I've learned was making sure that we ask the right questions at the very beginning. It is okay to not know the answers, but it is very, very important to ask the right questions. And it's also very important to hypothesize so that we can move forward without really having all the certainty. So that it enabled me to move in environments where it's uncertain. Then comes the work at financial institutions, at BBVA in multiple different countries, starting at Houston, US. It was my first experience that the team was 5,500 people. That means that typically teams are a few hundred people. You know the names of each individual, and then you can communicate. In most cases, you know the son's name or the daughter's name as well. That's a personal connection is there. It was my first experience around, okay, how do we talk to 5,000 people at once? Yeah. How do we gather them around one objective? And how do you motivate them going forward? So that was one learning that I got from there. And then I moved to Turkey, where Turkey is a country in finance and technologies. It's one of the top 3 countries in the world on how advanced the banking environment is, how digital it is, how automated it is as well. That improved me a lot in terms of catching up with all the financial technologies and innovation and launching the edge, the new technology stuff to the world, to the few markets that we were. That's more or less what I learned over time. But if I just synthesize it into one sentence, all of that would go into be positive and be flexible. Because whatever happens, the moment that the problem is there, we can change our approach and we can take it in a positive manner so that we can think about, okay, how can we solve this? How can we improve ourselves?
So we've had an amazing relationship. You have come into this business at a time when we had acquired 2 companies. We were merging them. We were creating a regional champion in 56 countries, putting together 2 sets of teams, 2 cultures, and then taking leadership of this business and taking it into the future. I'd love to ask you how you found the partnership with Brookfield in doing all of this, and any observations that you have in terms of any feedback you have for me as Brookfield, how we can even do more together.
We have started the beginning of 2025 with the objective of merging the 2 biggest payment companies in the region. And then in the meantime, in the same year, you finalize the acquisition of one of the leading banks acquiring portfolio as well. Now, it means that it's both integration and acquisition, while we have been going through a significant transformation in the same year as well. So that was the setup. It's a setup where multiple things can go wrong. I think I had my due diligence even before joining Network International Planning. First thing is to Brookfield has this notion of they're an investor, but they're an operator as well. So they have a very good understanding in terms of what can work, what can go wrong in an organization. And because of their experience on it, they don't get panicked. It's the other way around. They support it. In some cases that I don't see that something is coming, I've seen that Brookfield team was coming to me and saying that, what, this may happen in the future. Let's work on it together. There was a small period of time that I didn't have a CFO because we were doing a change. In the meantime, Brookfield team, they chipped in and they said, okay, we are going to be your CFO for the following couple of months to help you navigate during this process, so that I was part of it. They were part of it as well. So it's a team at the end of the day. That's just helping to me as well, because when a problem comes in, you would like to have people around you who have experienced it in different markets, in different settings. So whatever typically is happening to our organization, there is a chance that you have seen it in somewhere else in Brookfield's past. So now you are bringing in experts so that we have a conversation with them in terms of what happened, how did you solve it, and etc. That network is quite useful. And maybe another area is your focus. We were having a conversation on this yesterday with you as well. We focus on long-term value creation. Long-term value creation is something that I think people learn over time as well. How do you allocate capital in the right way? How do you do your investments in the right way? Brookfield has been doing it for a long period of time. So when we are out there in different countries, then we use the network and I think the intelligence of Brookfield and the connections as well, given that you have been working with governments, ecosystems in those countries. So that sometimes it opens us doors, gives us more connections, and increases the speed of our understanding.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Brookfield Perspectives. Make sure to follow us wherever you listen. You'll be the first to hear when new episodes drop.